And welcome back to DH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and I will be doing my New Capenna retrospective. And as usual, I like to go back after a set has been sort of filtering out in the format for about a year and take a look at how everything has shaken out. I use EDH Rec for this because it's the best way to get a good idea, at least. You can never be completely accurate with these things, but I get a pretty good idea of how popular cards are in the format. There's a lot to talk about here, so let's get right to it. Starting out with the commanders, and of course there are 19, and once again, to my everlasting surprise, Giada Font of Hope, the most popular commander from this set, and currently still the most popular mono white commander in the entire format. I think that might change though. We got some really good mono white commanders last year. So there's a chance that Giada might not hold on to the top spot, at least in mono white. Looks like it's got a pretty good lead though here from Streets of New Capenna, right? Jetmir Nexus of Revels coming in number 2. That to me, I would have figured probably would be the most popular one from the set. Giada has over, like, what is that, 1,300 more decks? That's a pretty big gap, right? People really like that commander. I mean, mono white Angel Tribal. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say other than that. Jetmir, a lot more you can do there. Obviously, your win con is stapled on your commander, which is always fantastic to have. So you don't have to figure out how you're going to win the game. You're just going to win the game with what your commander is doing, giving your creatures trample and double strike and the I guess +3/+0 total. And the reason why one of the reasons I guess why it's such a popular commander is because you can do a lot of different strategies here that just involve creatures, right? Any creatures will do here. If you have an underwhelming tribe that doesn't have a commander that necessarily fits that theme, Jetmir is a good one. I mean, it's a cat demon, I suppose, but you could do, unicorn tribal or something, right? That way you have a direction to go with that deck and a win con stapled on your commander. Token strategies also work really well. So obviously there's a lot you can do there. Not at all surprised that guy is popular. Raffine, Scheming Seer, and as I mentioned in my color combinations video, the 3 color combinations that we got in Streets of New Capenna have made those color combinations more popular. So Esper, for example, Naya, Jund, they have gotten a lot more popular in the format because this set in general is a really popular set. I mean, you look at Raffine, over 5,400 decks. That's a lot for the 3rd place commander. And then you get down to Zayatora, the Incinerator, 4,700 decks, right? So really popular set in general that this set was for the commander format. Of course, Zayatora, as I suspected, would be a pretty popular one. A little more popular than I thought. It does have a really interesting ability, and it works in the sacrifice theme, obviously. You're also creating those treasure tokens as well. Although, like, the one thing for me that I didn't love about this commander, it's 6 mana, so it takes a little while to get going. For me, I don't love a commander that is 6 mana or more that I require it in order for my deck to be doing stuff. You don't really require this. I guess you could do a little bit of setup, then play your commander and start going to town. I would say it's a little more popular than I thought it would be, though. If you're doing the sacrifice theme, even just in Jund colors, I think there's probably better options, but people seem to like it. Keza, Augur of Agnes. When you draw a card, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Pretty easy build around there, right? I think I just talked about this in a video recently. Would have been my Zamon and Dinah deck tech, where I was talking about how if a commander is wanting you to do something that you want to do in a deck all the time anyway, it's a pretty easy build around, right? Whenever you draw a card, I mean, that's something that you're guaranteed to be doing, but also it's a very easy build around. All you have to do is put card draw in this deck and it's going to be triggering your commander. So you already want to be drawing cards in a deck. So it's very easy to build around this commander because you just choose the options that you want and your commander gives you the benefit. I mean, it's not a huge benefit. Target opponent loses 1 life. It's not even each opponent, and then you gain 1 life. But, obviously you can get those big swings. Gaining life as well is something that you can also build around here, and Esper Colors does that pretty well. Moving down to the second row, we got Jinny Faye, Jetmir second. Again, another commander I'm not super surprised by. It is a Naya token commander, right? If you would create 1 or more tokens, you may instead create 2/2 green cats or 3/1 dogs. And, I kind of like the options you have there where you can, every time you're creating tokens, you're going to either create the cats or the dogs. I would imagine, though, what people are doing in this deck is either choosing one or the other, because of course there's a lot of cat tribal stuff and there's quite a fair amount of dog tribal stuff as well. So, if I'm building this deck, I'm going to be building, likely one of those tribes, so that every time I'm creating tokens, I'm getting the benefit off of creating them. And so I would imagine a lot of people are doing that. Obviously, there's a ton of token support in Naya colors as well. 3,600 decks, not bad. Falcospara Pact Weaver is one that I definitely wasn't entirely sure about. I almost did this one on my channel because I've always kind of been attracted to the, top decking, playing off the top of your library sort of theme. There is a lot of support there, or a lot of neat things you can do. And also this is doing it in a really neat way, right? You may look at the top card of your library at any time. That's always super handy to do. They don't do the, they've changed the wording, the Oracle of Moldiah wording, which is why I never played Oracle of Moldiah, because you reveal the top card of your library so everyone can see it. Everyone just gets to see what you draw every turn. They have, I think, completely abandoned that wording, where now it is just, you may look at the top card of your library at any time. And of course, just that alone, there's a lot you can do. Knowing what's on top of your library all the time is a really handy thing to do. You may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control in addition to it paying its other costs. So there is a lot of neat things you can do here, right? Just like with an Atraxa deck where you're proliferating, there's a lot of neat little different kinds of counters that you could possibly proliferate. But a lot of people will do just like a +1/+1 counter theme. That's the easiest route to go. And the same is true here. You could just very easily do bench +1/+1 counters and just remove those counters from your creatures in order to cast stuff off the top of your library. So 3,500, that's pretty good. It's actually probably more than I thought, because there is that stipulation from casting stuff from the top of your library, and there's actually quite a bit of commanders that you can already cast stuff from the top of your library, probably a lot easier. Rocco Cabretti Caterer is one I actually did on my channel, and it's actually more popular than I thought it would be, only because of what I heard people saying. I thought it was a pretty good commander. It is a tutor in the command zone. That's pretty fantastic, right? As a creature tutor in the command zone, there's a lot you can do there. And at the very least, you can enable a combo, right? If you have a couple of creatures in your deck that are some sort of combo you would want to be assembling, Rocco is a great way to do that, because of course your commander is essentially sort of a court of calling, right? But I heard a lot of people talking about how it's boring and it's not very good and you got to pay a lot of mana. And I think people were thinking more the, if I want to get a Avenger of Zendikar into play, it's going to cost me 10 mana. Well, that's not the best way to go about it, right? You want to go about it in the different way, I think. For that reason, I didn't think it would be this popular, but I do think it's a really good commander. Ognis, the Dragon's Lash, is another one that I'm a little surprised how popular it is. I guess it's making those treasure tokens. Whenever a creature you control with haste attacks create a tap treasure token, it is a pretty easy build around. You want those haste creatures, and obviously you can just use something that gives all your creatures haste, and then every creature you control that's attacking is going to create a tapped treasure token. I kind of like that they did that tapped treasure token thing to power it down a little. So you can't use those treasure tokens till your next turn, because of course you have to tap them to sacrifice them. I guess there could be a way that you could untap your artifacts, although in Junk Colors, not a lot of options there. 3,200, pretty good. Evelyn the Covetous. I would say this one probably I thought would be a lot more popular because of what it's doing. And, like whenever Evelyn or another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, exile top card of each player's library and put a collection counter on it. So you're doing the Vampire Tribal, which is a really popular tribe. People like that a lot. And you're doing the exile the top card of each player's library. You're playing your opponent's stuff. And again, I think about a tally, people really love commanders like that. Maybe we've gotten to the point, and there's a couple commanders that have come out in sets recently that had abilities similar to this that I thought, like Nashi, right, from Neon Dynasty was another one that I thought would be more popular because people like to do that stuff. But maybe we're reaching a point now where, maybe people don't love doing that stuff. Your opponents certainly don't like it, right? The other players in the game do not like having their stuff taken and used against them and all that kind of stuff. So that might play into it a little bit. 3,000's obviously pretty good. Still, that it's not a really popular commander in the format. I've never played against it. I've never seen it in a game. In fact, let me take a gander here. Giada, I have played against that. I have a patron with that deck, and I believe I've played against a Jetmir deck. Rafi, no. I have a patron with the Zayatora deck. I have played against the Keza deck. I don't think I've played against Ginny Faye, Falco, or Rocco, or Agnes, or Evelyn. So, sort of touch and go there. Lord Xander, the Collector. Yeah, this was another one that it's like, okay, you have this ability on a commander. And again, the way it used to be is if a commander had a really powerful ability, everyone would go after it. But now we're getting at a point now where if you have that command, I mean, it's the fundamental, rule number one for me in deck building that I talk about all the time. If you have Lord Xander in the command zone, people are like, okay, well, he's the archenemy. Before anyone even draws their opening hand, that person's the archenemy, because you don't want, and I guess you could do some political stuff here, but everyone's going to look at this and go, okay, well, I don't want to discard half my hand, and I don't want, to mill half my library, and I don't want to lose half my permanents. So everyone's just going to target you, right? So this is one of those commanders, and it's probably right where I would expect it to be. Sort of in the middle, I guess a little below the middle, where it is a commander that people are going to want to go after because it has that powerful ability that can, very easily close out the game or certainly get you closer. But at the same time, it's also one of those commanders that's probably going to make you the arch enemy right away. I mean, people were even calling for this card to get banned as soon as they saw it. So it's probably right where I expected it would be. I will point out, though, like we're getting towards the bottom here, and we're still 2,500 decks. This is a popular set in the commander format for sure. Cormella Glamour Thief. Yeah, I thought this would be a little more popular. There is, you're in the Grixis instant sorcery theme, which we don't really have a whole lot of commanders there. So, obviously Izzet has a ton. If you want to add black in there, this is a good option. There also is a little bit of combo potential. I think there's at least one infinite combo here. Again, though, the infinite combos is starting to not be an attraction for people, right? A lot of people, that used to be something that would attract people to a commander. Now it's like, people don't really want to do that. And really, other than the combo potential, your commander's a mana dork, sort of, right? It's a mana dork that adds mana for only instants and sorceries. And when it dies, you get to return an instant sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, which is just okay. So it is a decent Grixis instant and sorcery commander if you want to do that. Other than that, not a lot going on there, though, right? So I suppose it's right where I would expect it would be. Mr. Orfeo, the Boulder, I think I've played against this one. I do have a patron that has this deck. I've definitely done it on my deck doctor. This one, I thought, it kind of seems pretty boring, and I am a little surprised it is as popular as it is. Whenever you attack, double target creature's power until end of turn. I mean, I guess that's just something that never gets old for people. It makes it easy to build around for sure. Again, your win con is kind of stapled on your commander, even though it is just attacking. There is a couple of neat things you can do here, right? Because you're doubling power. You can do fling effects and stuff like that. I mean, 1,200 is pretty good. I guess I should take into consideration that it used to be, like 5-6 years ago when I first started using this site a lot, any commander that had over 1,000 decks was a pretty popular commander. Now 1,200 decks is not a lot. Jax is the Troublemaker. Pretty great commander. This is one that I considered for myself because I needed a mono red deck at the time. I ended up going with Browlin and doing that as my mono red deck. But this is one I definitely considered. I like the discard. I like creating tokens. The sacrificing, there was just a lot you could build around here. But at the same time, it is a mono red deck and all of that. So I guess it's right where I expect it would be. The new one from March of the Machine, Orthian or Orthorian or whatever, that is doing a very similar theme. Like they've been doing the token creation sort of thing in red a lot. And we have quite a few mono red commanders that do that now. And maybe they're doing it a little too much. I had a few people that say, yeah, Orthorian's pretty good, but Jaxus is better because it's a little more interesting and there's more you can do there rather than just creating token copies of creatures. Lagrilla the Magpie, another commander that I considered doing for myself. I didn't have a Bant deck. I don't have any 3-color decks at all right now, and Bant is my favorite 3-color combination, so I have been looking at doing that. And Lagrilla is is I thought there was some interesting things you could do there. Again, this is another commander that a lot of people thought, yeah, they were poo-pooing on it. It's a little boring. But there is quite a bit you can do because you can exile your creatures. So you can do that sort of blink strategy with your creatures. You can also exile your opponent's creatures. So that's interesting as well. And of course, when the exiled card enters the battlefield under your control this way, put 2+1/+1 counters on it. So you're also doing the counter theme as well. I thought there was some neat things you could do here. I did toy with this idea a little, although it isn't super powerful and it's not really obvious. So, this is about where I expected it to be. Rigo Streetwise Mentor, this one I thought would be way more popular. This is probably the biggest surprise for me. Bant Colors is great. When it enters the battlefield, it's got a shield counter on it, and protection for your commander is always great as well. Whenever you attack a player or planeswalker with one or more creatures with power 1 or less, draw a card. That's a pretty easy card draw effect. And having a commander that triggers to give you a card draw and not you do it relatively easily, I thought this would be way more popular. I thought a lot of people would be going after it. And again, just like with Jetmir, there's a lot of those underwhelming tribes that might fit here as long as they tend to have a power of 1. I mean, you could do a Sapperling tribal deck here. You could do a lot of tribes with this commander. I ended up making a deck myself with this on my channel. I did Pegasus Tribal because I thought I've been thinking about doing a Pegasus Tribal deck for a while, and this was a great commander for it because, of course, those Pegasi usually almost always have a power of 1. So check out that deck if you're interested. For sure, I thought this one would be more popular. This is definitely probably the biggest surprise for me. Toulouse, Clever Conductor. This one also, I'm a little surprised. I think there's some pretty neat things you can do here. Whenever you discard one or more cards, exile them from your graveyard, and then when it dies, you put the exiled cards back into your hand. That seems pretty good, right? You can just loot like crazy. Like, this is such massive card advantage. I just cast a Frantic Search, discard 2 cards. Those cards go into exile. I'm drawing 2 cards as well, so I'm up cards. And now when my commander dies, I get those other cards back, right? So that seems pretty good. I'm a little surprised. There's a lot you can do here. Very open-ended. I'll just say one of the ideas I was going to do with this guy was Transmute. I love Transmute as an ability, as most of my viewers know, and it works really well with Toulouse because you transmute that card by discarding it, right? So you go transmute something, go tutor something out of your library. The card you've transmuted, because you're discarding it, gets exiled by Toulouse, and then you'll get it back so you can do it again. Pretty neat commander, I think. Urabrask, Heretic Praetor, and I just talked about this in, I think, my best commanders from March in the Machine, how I was, the Urabrask tended to get the short end of the stick. They're not very good. Not surprised at all that this is the second least popular commander from the set. It's pretty good ability, right? But at the same time, it's really difficult to build around. Really difficult. There's not much you can do actually building around that. It is good, exile the top card of your library. You can play it this turn. You get an impulse draw on your turn, and you can sort of hose your opponents a little bit. The new Urabrask, of course, is way, way better. So it's good to see we have a pretty decent Urabrask in the format now. And Errant Street Artist, which I was pretty excited about this when it first came out. I actually made a video as soon as it got spoiled because I was like, man, I love everything that's going on in this commander. It's so interesting. It's so unique. Nothing we've ever seen before. However, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh man, it's so hard to use that ability. Copy target spell that you control that wasn't cast. I thought there would be more options for that, but almost every single option is just you're copying a spell that you've already copied, which kind of just ends up, you're making a mono blue copy deck, right? Epic is the one exception there, right? Eternal Dominion, I believe, is the mono blue version. Great win con if you have an Errant Street Artist deck. All right, let's check out the 99 cards, and we did some pretty great 99 cards from this set for sure. This was a great set overall, both with this and of course the New Capenna Commander, which I'll look at as well. And when I saw an Offer You Can't Refuse, again, this was another card that I freaked out about because I was like, this is just a commander staple now, right? And I got quite a bit of pushback. I couldn't believe how much pushback I got because people are like, oh man, giving your opponent 2 treasure tokens, that's way too good. I'm like, 1 mana to counter a non-creature spell is incredible. And that is, as I say all the time, 99% of the time, I'm going to counter a non-creature spell. I don't care that much about creatures. Almost always those game-winning spells is going to be a non-creature spell, and this is just straight up better. For me, I used to play Swan Song a lot. This has replaced Swan Song in almost all my decks because I think it's better. Swan Song hits instant sorceries and enchantments. It doesn't hit artifacts, doesn't hit planeswalkers. This hits all of them. It hits everything except creatures, and I don't care if my opponent gets 2 treasure tokens. 140,000 decks. So obviously I was right. People did go after this card. It is probably my favorite counterspell in the entire format now. I put it in all my blue decks. Professional Facebreaker. Not a big surprise that this is the second most popular card from the set. It's doing the treasure token thing. Obviously, if you're in a deck that is already doing the treasure token thing, you can obviously use this card to both make treasure tokens and then use the treasure tokens you're making. Like sometimes I find if you're making a lot of treasure tokens, you don't need the mana sometimes. This gives you card advantage out of those treasure tokens that might just be sitting around, which is great. And then obviously you can throw it a bunch of decks that, you just want to be getting in for damage, so why not get some treasure tokens off of it? Obviously we got these 3 cycle lands, the triomes, the allied color triomes, which to nobody's surprise are going in every deck that, if you're playing those colors, obviously 5 of them, and they're going to be some of the most popular cards from this set in Commander. This surprises me a little. Big score, 4 mana. As an additional cost to cast it, you have to discard a card, draw 2 cards, and create 2 treasure tokens. That doesn't seem great. And I know Red has a bit of an issue with card draw, and man, it never ceases to amaze me the amount of complaining that people do about white card draw. And even a couple of years ago, I thought white was better at drawing cards than red. Red has literal no card draw at all. All it has is stuff like this or impulse draw. Now it's like not even close. Every other color in the format draws cards really well. Red is horrible at it. This is a perfect example. 4 mana to draw 2 cards, and you have to discard a card. Yeah, you get 2 treasure tokens. 65,000 decks for this card. That tells me that a lot of people are really desperate for card draw in red. Rumor Gatherer, the other card. In fact, an offer you can't refuse, and Rumor Gatherer I think I talked about in the same video because they both got spoiled on the same day. I see Rumor Gatherer has already been reprinted in Baldur's Gate because they knew it'd be a card that played a lot in the format. Again, I mean, deja vu here, right? Talking about white card draw, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You look at Rumor Gatherer compared to Big Score, we got a red card draw card that's not very good, and then a white card draw card that's pretty fantastic. It works in a lot of different strategies where you just have creatures entering the battlefield. All you need is 2 creatures to enter the battlefield, and you get a scry 1, and then you get the draw card. Pretty good. Not surprised at all that it's in a ton of decks. Ledger Shredder is one that I believe I mentioned in my top cards from the set. It is pretty good, right? Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, Ledger Shredder connives, so of course you get to loot, and it gets a counter on it. I don't think it's that good. I think it's okay. 36,000 decks is a lot. Like Ledger Shredder, I know gets played in Legacy a lot, might get played in Modern as well, and this might be a case of this card performs really, really well in other formats, so people shoehorn it into their Commander decks. It's okay. I would never play this unless I was in a theme where I want to be discarding, though. Just looting every time your opponent casts their second spell each turn isn't great. And putting +1/+1 counters on, again, in Modern or Legacy, having a 2/4 or a 3/5 flyer is really good. In Commander, that's not very good at all. So really all you're getting out of this is the looting, which is okay. If I want draw triggers or discard triggers, it's not bad. That's probably the only place I would play it. I think it's pretty good. I think it's on a little bit too many decks, though. We'll stop with this row right here. And of course, Void Rend, you look at this spell and you're like, okay, destroy target non-land permanent instant speed. That's going to go in every deck that can fit it, I would imagine. And then also it can't be countered. So, right, there's nothing to say there other than the fact that this is a card that is just going to go in every deck that has white, blue, and black, isn't it? Even though those colors are really good for removal already, I still would probably find room for this, right? Galagreator's great card. Obviously goes in a ton of decks. Those creature heavy decks. I like the options. It hasn't been chosen this turn. I guess that's a little bit of a stipulation, but of course there's lots of different turns in a Commander game. Putting counters on stuff, creating treasure tokens, gaining life. So of course, you could put this in almost any deck that is creature heavy because those are all great, but also fits extra good in a deck where maybe you want to gain life, maybe you want to create treasure tokens, maybe you want to put +1/+1 counters on your creatures. So not surprised at all that this isn't a ton of decks. And then, of course, we have the whatever series of lands we're calling this, right? These sack lands. And of course, these are going to see a ton of play. They fit the 3-color theme. So if I'm playing any of these, and also the 2-color theme, right? So this goes and gets a swamp, mountain, or forest. So if I'm in a Jund deck, it's great. If I'm also just in a Gruul deck, it's also very playable, right? It's probably straight up better than Evolving Wilds in almost every situation. You gain the life as well, which is okay. For that reason, it's better than Evolving Wilds in almost every situation except for maybe a 5-color deck. So, of course, these lands are seeing a ton of play. No surprise there. All right, let's move on to New Capenna Commander. And this has 18 commanders, almost as many as the main set. Henzi Toolbox Tori. Wow, almost 7,000 decks. That's a lot. It's a pretty good commander, for sure. Each creature spell you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz. This Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. The Blitz cost equal to its mana cost is not great because you could just cast the spell normally anyway, and then it's going to, it won't get sacrificed. There is a lot you can build around there, though, right? And again, if I'm in the sacrifice theme, Henzi I'm probably going to pick that over Zayatora, mostly because it's only 3 mana and it's not 6, so I can really start going to town right away. But obviously, Blitz costs you pay cost 1 less for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. So it's going to reduce your cost. So your creatures essentially are cheaper, but then get sacrificed. It's almost a little bit of a sneak attack sort of effect in the command zone. I imagine a lot of people are using sneak attack in this deck because it's fitting the theme of what you're doing. It's also nice to have a commander that when it dies, and I have a patron with this deck, and it was like, oh, my commander dies. Okay, put it back. Good. It's like a good thing because you want to recast it so that you can have the Blitz cost reduced. So that's also really nice. And Hello the Painter. This one I didn't talk about on my channel at all, I don't think. It's okay. Again, you're just doing a Grixis instant and sorcery theme, but also you're sacrificing your creature. So you're sort of doing both themes here a little bit. I suppose there is a possibility for some really high-powered decks here. I wonder if this is getting played in CEDH at all. I imagine most of the people that went after this probably went more high-powered route, probably because you're copying and stuff. That's my guess. It's not super interesting, though, and I certainly wouldn't want to build a deck around it because at the end of the day, you're just copying your stuff and sacrificing your creatures, so nothing new there. Tavit, Seller of Secrets. Another one that I don't really think I talked about at all. And again, because it is essentially, a voting commander, sort of. I did a deck doctor for one of my patrons with this guy. And, it's interesting because when Tavit enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, starting with you, each player votes for evidence or bribery for each evidence vote. Investigate for each bribery vote, credit treasure token. That's great, of course. You're either getting treasure tokens or clue tokens. While voting, you may vote an additional time. And while I was doing that deck doctor, I thought, you look at this commander and you think, okay, well, I want all the voting stuff in here, right? And yeah, I guess. But at the same time, you get to vote an extra time, sure, but a lot of the voting stuff is just not very good. Regardless of whether you win the vote, just the payoff's not really there. More so, and this is the advice I gave to them, is you're in a clue token, treasure token theme here. I think more so because you're getting lots of clue and treasure token, all the time. Whenever your commander enters the battlefield or deals combat damage, which of course, because it has flying, is easy to do. So every single turn, you're getting a whole bunch of, for each evidence vote, you're getting like, say, 2 clue tokens and you're getting 2 treasure tokens. But you get to vote an additional time, so of course you're going to end up getting another one as well, whichever one you want. So you're getting a whole bunch of artifact tokens on every single turn, which is great, and that's more the direction I would go because there are some good voting cards, and I think people would look at this more as a voting commander, but I'm thinking that first ability is way better, and because a lot of those voting cards are just not great. The Beamtown Bullies, and this one is exactly the same as Lord Xander, where has this really powerful, potentially powerful ability that makes it so that people will go after it, but also will make you the arch enemy because people are worried about what you're going to do. So they're going to either kill your commander right away, they're going to not let you cast your commander, they're going to, right? All of that all applies. What applies to Lord Xander applies here as well, where you have a really powerful commander that is doing a very interesting thing, but is also doing a very unfun thing, because of course target opponent whose turn it is puts target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under their control. And what you can do, of course, is put like Leveler in there and, you know, all these nasty creatures that are going to essentially end the game for your opponent. And I imagine there's a lot of people doing that, right? Even if you're not doing that, right? Maybe you're just doing a fun, interesting deck here where you're goading your own creatures, but the potential is what makes a commander like this. Because of course you sit down at a table, and if you know those people don't know you, they'll just assume you're doing the nasty stuff, right? And you can try to convince them otherwise, but you know they could just say. Sometimes it doesn't even matter, right? Again, this plays into the whole philosophy and mindset of the commander format, where even if you are playing a really powerful commander but doing a, you know, more janky theme, or even if you are playing a commander that is traditionally doing nasty things and you're not doing those nasty things, it still is like a subconscious thing with people where they will still target you. Because that one time I played against a Beamtown Bullies deck and my opponent put a Leveler into play and exiled my whole library, right? So I guess this is about where I would expect it would be. You can do some fun, interesting things here for sure, but the potential for the really nasty stuff, I think, is what keeps this not as popular. Camiz Obscura Oculus, another one that I was really interested in because I just like the potential for the different things you could do here. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn, and it connives, then choose another attacking creature with lesser power. That creature gains double strike in one turn. So I thought it would be neat to figure out different creatures that I want to be attacking with, and some of them I don't want to be blocked, and some of them I want to get double strike, and maybe some of them I want to put counters on because you're conniving. You're in the discard theme again, the draw discard theme here a little bit. So I thought there was a lot of really neat, interesting ways you could go with this commander. I'm glad to see it's pretty popular. 3,000 decks is pretty good. Jolene the Plunder Queen. Funny name. Whenever a player attacks one or more of your opponents, that attacking player creates a treasure token. And if you would create one or more treasure tokens, create those tokens plus an additional one, and you can sacrifice 5 treasure tokens to, you know, okay. I mean, you're in the treasure theme in Gruul. So a lot of people that wanted to build a Gruul treasure token deck can now do so. That's about the only reason to build this commander, I guess, right? There is a lot of treasure token commanders in the commander format now, and so now it's becoming sort of 1,700 is pretty good, I guess, but this is about where I would expect it would be. You have a bunch of people that want to build a Gruul treasure token commander, and then that's about it. It's just doing a whole lot of treasure token things if you want to do it in Gruul colors. But other than that, like I said, we have so many of those treasure token commanders now that it's kind of getting a little old and boring. Cyrex Carrier of Flame, our first actual Phoenix tribal commander. So for that reason, you are going to have people that go after it. Again, I have a patron that has this deck. You're going to have people, 1,400 or so people out there that want to make a Phoenix tribal deck. Rakdos colors is interesting here. Obviously you want red. The fact that they decided to go with black as well is interesting. Obviously you're going to be doing the Phoenix tribal theme. There's some interesting things you can do here. Because if a creature card left your graveyard this turn, target Phoenix you control deals damage equal to its power to any target. So, that theme as well, you could build around having stuff leave your graveyard. Doesn't have to be a Phoenix coming out of the graveyard, but obviously plays into that theme as well. Again, this is about where I expected. It used to be that tribal commanders really, like, if they would have came out with Cyrex back in like 2018, it would have been really popular. But now, again, just sort of like the treasure token thing again, it's like, okay, we're just giving some love to another tribe that we've seen in the format for a long time that doesn't actually have a commander. So, again, you're going to have the people that want to build a Phoenix tribal deck. They're going to do that, and then that's about it. Perry the Pulverizer is this one I did on my channel? I was definitely considering it if I didn't. There was a lot of commanders, really interesting ones that I was considering doing on my channel. I did a few. This was one that I thought was pretty interesting. Again, when it enters the battlefield, you put a shield counter on target creature, but of course you probably want to do it on your commander because you want to protect your commander. When Perry attacks target creature you control gains trample and gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of different kinds of counters among permanents you control. That really is going down the rabbit hole of let's find all those obscure, funny, crazy counters, and that's a theme that I've sort of not really was looking for, but when I saw this commander, I'm like, oh wow, that's great. And you could just like a card like the Bounty of Luxa, which is a card that is pretty good in a commander game, is one of those cards that doesn't really have a home, and it has a nice home here because I believe it puts a flood counter on itself. There are a few cards that use flood counters, but that's a card that you could use here because it puts a flood counter on itself, and then it's going to count towards the different named, right, different kinds of counters that you have. So I really like this commander a lot, but it is kind of a difficult one to build, I suppose. 1200, I thought maybe it would be a little more popular than this. 1200 is not bad. Keto, Kanto, Mayhem, Diva. When it enters the battlefield, create a couple of citizen tokens at the beginning of combat of each player's turn. You may tap 2 untapped creatures you control. When you do, target creature that player controls get +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Goad that creature. So again, just like the treasure token theme, it's like, okay, another goad commander. And I think they have a couple of goad commanders in this set. And there's one right there, cross defense, like again, right? These are interesting commanders, and these, just like Cross, same thing. If either of these commanders had come out like 3 or 4 years ago, they would have been way more popular because gold was really rare. You didn't really have maybe 1 or 2 commanders that were actually doing it, and these are doing it in very interesting ways. But we had like at least 3 commanders in this set that are goading, just in this set alone, and that's a theme they've been doing a lot. And I know someone told me, I'm like, oh, more goading, come on. Like, people are like, well, they're encouraging people to attack in a commander game. And I'm like, is that necessary? Like, we've gotten to a place in commander where you need to encourage your opponents to attack you or attack each other. That's kind of sad, I think. I'm always attacking in commander games. That's how almost every single one of my decks win a commander game, is just attacking with my creatures. And I'm not playing Craterhoof Behemoth either. I'm just doing it the old-fashioned way. So we certainly don't need any more. The fact that these 2 commanders are just kind of they're not really that popular, tells me, even though they are really interesting, tells me that I think people are getting a little tired of the whole gold thing. Vazzy Keen Negotiator. That is definitely one I did on my channel that I just thought was super interesting. As far as a politics commander goes, it is the one of the most interesting for sure. Target opponent creates X treasure tokens, where X is the number of treasure tokens you created this turn. So you're giving your opponent treasure tokens, which is super interesting. And whenever opponent casts a spell or activates an ability, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and then draw a card. Obviously, there's a ton going on here. You want to create treasure tokens. You want your opponent to use them. You want to put counters on your stuff, which obviously you can build around, and drawing cards is always good. Just a really interesting, fun commander, I think. Obviously, it's a difficult one to build around, and commanders like that, even though they are super interesting, are not going to be super popular. 1100 is about what I expect. Oscar Rubbish Reclaimer. This one is just like the other discard commander from the main set, where it's so easy to build around that theme. This guy costs 1 less to cast for each different mana value among cards in your graveyard, which is pretty good. I like the cost reduction on your commander. And mana value is, right, you can get like 7 different mana values out in your graveyard pretty easily. Whenever you discard a non-land card, you may cast it from your graveyard. Again, that's just fantastic. Works with transmute because blue and black are the transmute colors. Works with a lot of stuff. It's just great value. Like, I guess it's about where I expect it would be, because it is a commander that if I'm in a discard theme anyway, and when I did my I love this deck idea, right? The Volross Shapeshifter and the Hack-On, I needed a blue-black commander that wanted a discard theme, and I had given this consideration, but I was like, I'm not really going to be using that ability a lot, right? Because I don't want to cast it from my graveyard. Hack-On already casts himself from the graveyard, so I don't need it. And the stuff I discard into my graveyard that I want my Volross Shapeshifter to become, I want it to stay there. So it didn't really work. I ended up finding another commander that did work. So, but still pretty interesting commander if you're in a theme where you just want to be discarding. It does fit. Mari the Killing Quill, definitely thought this would be more popular for sure. Again, maybe the tribal commanders, it's getting to the point now where it's like, okay, another tribal commander. Yeah. I don't like that they threw rogues in here. I wish this would have been just assassins, or even just assassins and mercenaries. Again, they did this a few times. They did this with the Archmandrite. They did this where I was like, really would have preferred if it was just advisors and artificers. They threw monks in there, which is a very popular tribe and easy to build around. And here, you could just do this deck without any assassins or mercenaries at all and just do mono black rogues. So I kind of wish they would just stick with the less popular tribes, but maybe they were thinking, oh, there's not enough assassins and mercenaries to actually make this a commander deck. I think there is. Obviously, the exiling your opponent's creatures is great. That works in every deck. And obviously, Marry the Killing Quill is an auto include in that Etrata deck because it's using the hit counters, right? Best Soul Nourisher. This is another one that I had considered doing because I thought there was some really interesting things you could do here. And again, had considered this for the Pegasus Tribal deck because, of course, it's dealing with creatures with power and toughness 1/1, which I think is pretty neat. Pegasus, Sapperlings, whatever. There's lots of tribes that are 1/1s. So you could do a lot of underwhelming tribes here, or really popular tribes like humans and elves will also work. And again, I have a patron that has this deck, and I played against it, and I think that he beat the hell out of us with it, if I remember correctly. Fabine, Boss's Confidant. Not at all surprised that this is not very popular. I mean, creature tokens you control of haste, that's good, but again, 6 mana commander. So I'm not going to get that benefit until I get up to 6 mana. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player reveals top card of your library. For each land card revealed this way, you create a token. Then creatures you control get +1/+1 to end a turn. For each non-land card revealed this way, then each player draws a card. I like that they brought that parlay mechanic back. It's really neat in the commander format. I don't think people really knew what to do with this commander. Again, it's pretty expensive. It is doing an aggro theme, but at the same time, it's sort of a little huggy because it's letting everyone draw cards. So I think people are a little confused by this one. Hello, Benny. Again, famously, as I've talked about a few times on my channel, when I made a big deal out of this guy when I saw it, because I'm like, there's a mono white commander that's drawing you cards very easily, and you're in a very open-ended token theme. How easy is it? And again, you could go with some sort of tribe. Again, the Pegasus tribal works here as well, because Pegasus like to create tokens. There's just so many ways you could go with this. And I didn't even consider touching this commander, even though I thought it was really interesting, because I thought for sure, I thought it would be the most popular mono white commander. Man, I was way off. Way off. In fact, let's go take a look and see how far I am off. Mono white commanders. There's Giada from New Capenna, the most popular one by quite a wide margin. Of course, Light Paws that came out last year. Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. Wow. I will point out, look at the massive gap here, right? Look at Giada and then look at Elish Norn. I mean, this one's still climbing, but man, more than double, right? Heliod, which was the number one for a long time. There's Meryl again, came out last year, already climbing up there. Darren, again, that was the most popular commander in the format for mono white for a long time. Oswald finally climbing up there. I don't want to get too much into this because this is not necessarily what I'm talking about. Preston again came out last year, already gaining a lot of popularity. We're getting way down there. There's AO. I have an AO deck. Oh boy, Benny Brax is less popular than Rick. Wow, a Walking Dead commander. And it is essentially exactly as popular as is Isamaru Handokonda, which is just a vanilla 2/2 creature. I don't know. Creating tokens, drawing cards, seems pretty good. I don't get it, but you know what? I don't care because now I get to play Benny Brax because, I don't like playing super popular commanders and I don't want to be that guy with Lord Xander in the command zone and I become the arch enemy. And I made a really fun, interesting deck. You guys can go check that out. I talked about it recently in my personal decks video. Really fun, interesting deck. And clearly, like 541 decks by today's standards is almost nothing. And clearly this is it's not going anywhere. It's been over a year now, and this is still the third least popular commander in this entire set. I'm shocked by that. Denry Klin is also a commander that I think is obviously Benny Brax's biggest surprise by far from this set, that it is so unpopular. Denry Klin, I think this is such an interesting commander. Again, a commander I've talked about quite a bit on my channel. I did this on my Underwhelming Commander series. Did a really interesting strategy there with the Myojin and the divinity/indestructible counters. That's the most interesting part here, I think, is that you can make a Denry Klin deck and put some other, like a shield counter or an indestructible counter or whatever, and then all your creatures get that. I think that's pretty neat. Parnese, the Subtle Brush. Yeah, this bottom of the barrel, hey? A little surprised by that. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless that player pays 4 life. That's pretty good. I mean, it certainly is not hard for your opponents to pay 4 life in the commander format. So I think a lot of people will look at that and go, oh, well, that's nothing. It's not nothing. Every time they target your stuff, they lose 4 life. That's pretty good. Obviously, if they're targeting your stuff, they're not going to let their stuff get countered. So they're going to pay the 4 life. So every time anything of yours, you or a permanent you control, gets targeted, they lose 4 life. That's pretty good. Again, just like with my Rain deck, Rain does the exact same thing. And obviously Rain might be a good fit in this deck. That's happening all the time. Your opponents target your stuff a lot. Like if they want to Ghost Quarter your land, they have to pay 4 life to do that. That's pretty good, right? Again, it's not really your win con staple in your commander, but it certainly helps. Whenever you copy a spell, up to one target opponent may also copy the spell. They may choose new targets for the copy. I guess that's the part where it's like, okay, well, why would I want my opponent to be copying stuff as well? It's interesting, though. This is one, when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, what are you going to do with this? It's definitely a tough one to build around, but it's interesting. And obviously the politics theme works great here, but I'm sure you could find some more interesting stuff to do with it as well. All right, we are finishing off with the 99 cards from New Capenna Commander and Smuggler's Share number 1. Not a big surprise. Obviously, I had this in my top 20 from the set. Great card. Everyone knew it was going to see a lot of play. Just another one of those cards, just another mono white card that's drawing cards because white needs help with card draw and ramp. So let's make a card that is both ramping and doing card draw. Built into one that does it really, really well, that people can play in their mono white decks, but are also going to play in a whole lot of... People put this in their 5-color decks, right? That's the problem with making cards like this. It's only in 29,000 decks. I think the reason, again, just like with Smothering Tide, it's going to take a while. This is just going to keep gaining popularity and increasing in the amount of decks it's in. It's just going to take a while because it was like a $40 card for a while. It looks like it's down to about 14 or something, maybe 11 now. So it's starting to lower a little bit in price. It's just going to keep gaining steam. 29,000 is not a lot, but it's going to gain steam for sure. It's going to be a card that's always played in the format forever. So is Grand Crescendo. Great card. Obviously works great in a token theme or in a whole lot of themes. Again, any of those themes where you just want creatures entering the battlefield. But at that, it's also just a great way to protect your team. You can just pay 2 white mana and creatures you control gain indestructible in a turn, which of course you want to be doing in every commander deck. So you should always have those types of effects in your deck. Like I talk about all the time, you need protection in your deck. It is just a massive advantage if someone casts the Wrath of God and for 2 white mana your team sticks around and everyone else's is gone. You don't need to create any tokens, but you can do that as well if you got extra mana open. So no big surprise this card's seeing lots of play in the format. Obviously Benny Brax is in the 99 of a lot of decks, right? All those token. Again, the reason this is in a lot of 99 decks is the reason I thought it would be a popular commander. But I guess a lot of people already have token strategies and they didn't want to just stick to mono white. Master of Ceremonies, pretty much the same sort of situation as Smuggler's Share, except more of a political theme, which I think is neat. It is a really neat card. I like it a lot. It's doing the politics thing, also creates tokens, fits in a lot of themes, but also be put in just about any deck and it'll be giving you good value. Damning Verdict, of course, destroy all creatures with no counters on them. Fits very specifically in those decks that have creatures with counters on them, which I guess is maybe 14,000. Certainly wouldn't play it outside of there. Wow, I thought, there's got to be at least one card that I don't recognize at all when I'm talking about these, and this is the one. Reign of Riches. I have no idea what this does. 3 red enchantment. When Reign of Riches enters the battlefield, create 2 treasure tokens. Of course, people love treasure. Any card that says treasure tokens on it now it sees play in the format. The first spell you cast each turn that mana from a treasure was spent to cast has Cascade, and of course, people really like Cascade too. So, is there 13,000 that you would never play this outside of a treasure deck, right? You can use the treasures you created with it, but then you're only going to be able to use this twice, and then it's just a dead card that's sitting on the battlefield. So you want this in a treasure token theme? Are there 14,000 treasure token decks in the format? That's a lot. Wouldn't surprise me if there was. Obviously, there's a lot of commanders. I guess this just fits in all the Prosper decks, right? Pretty great fit in all the Prosper decks. So just the Prosper decks alone, there's got to be almost 14,000 Prosper decks. So this probably goes in all the Prosper decks. Sees a Spotlight, phenomenal card. Again, I'm a little surprised it's not more popular. It doesn't particularly fit any theme, but it's just a great card. 3 mana, and I'm gaining control of creatures. I'm drawing a card and creating treasure tokens. Seems pretty good. Resourceful Defense obviously fits in all the decks that it fits in. Jolene, wow. 10,000 decks. Again, there's so many treasure decks out there now that even a dedicated treasure token commander is fitting in the 99, even in Gruul colors. in the 99 way more than it is as a commander. Extravagant Replication is, of course, a card that, I guess does fit certain themes, because at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control. So you could put this in any deck. I mean, it does fit in certain themes, but at the same time, you could put it in any deck and just, I create a token copy of my Soul Ring. Right? And then the next turn, I create a token copy of my, whatever, my Spellseeker. Or, it's just great value. 6 mana is a lot. And then you don't get the trigger until your following turn. So certainly I would have to have a pretty good reason to put this in a deck. I wouldn't just put it in any deck, but it does give you good value in just about any deck. All right, last row we'll do here. Currency Converter, obviously fitting in all the discard decks. Obviously I put this in my Browlin deck right away because it was a great fit. And again, this is a card that it is just good value because of course you can just not be discarding at all in your deck and just loot, and then the cards you're looting create treasure tokens with. I wonder how many people are doing that. I wonder how many people are actually playing this card outside of a discard theme. This is another card that has been played a lot in Legacy, so it's kind of got a little bit of a name for itself. Curious to know if there's anyone doing that. Aerial Extortionist, this is a card that I guess I sort of missed. It is a really good card. I didn't talk about this all on my channel. There was so much great white card draw coming out in this set. There was a ton. There was like 10 or 11 white card draw effects, mono white card draw effects that came out in this set. So this one I kind of missed, and it is a pretty good one. When it enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, exile up to one target non-land permanent for as long as that card remains exiled. Its owner may cast it. So it's temporarily getting something off the battlefield, which can be really, really good. But whenever another player casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, you get to draw a card, which of course works into the first ability. But if people are casting stuff from their graveyard, if they're casting stuff from exile, so again, against that Prosper deck, this card's bananas. You're drawing cards like crazy. I recently put this in my Benny Brax deck, and it doesn't seem to fit, although it has an ETB. And that is a sort of a blinking ETB strategy. And I thought, let's try this card out in a deck and see how it does. And it does really well. It is certainly a great card, no question. Lethal Scheme, really, really great. And I've almost sort of forgotten about this card. I keep forgetting it exists when I put decks together. It is one of the best mono black creature removal spell. I guess it removes planeswalkers as well. So it is one of the best targeted removal spells for mono black now in the entire format, because not only does it hit creatures and planeswalkers, you can also convoke it, and you can have it cast completely for free if you have 4 creatures out and 2 of them are black. And then also on top of that, you get to connive. So really, really great card that you could put in any commander deck and it'll be great. Life Insurance, again, another card that I didn't talk about at all. Has Extort, which of course is great in any commander game. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you lose 1 life and you create a treasure token. That's not bad. Again, any card that's creating treasure tokens, people are going to go after in the commander format. I will just say, I recently played against a patron who has a treasure token deck, style of deck, and they died from this card. This is whenever a non-token creature dies, right? And I cast a board wipe. And it killed like 12 creatures, and they lost 12 life, and they died. So this killed them. Just saying, So I know people think this card's pretty good, but there is a lot of situations where a whole bunch of non-token creatures can die all at once, and it might end up just killing you. There's no May here. You lose 1 life and create a treasure token. And then Tenuous Truth is a card that I think I did give it a mention. It's one of those many white card draw cards that I talked about from this set. It's pretty good. I never ended up using this card. I think I did buy a copy of it, and I was considering using it. I never ended up using it because very quickly we got Baldur's Gate, which had a whole bunch more awesome white card draw options. So this got buried faster than it. Like Archivist of Ogma, just anyone who had Tenuous Truth, you just take this out and put Archivist of Ogma in, which is way better and costs the same amount of mana. So this is one of those cards that just got buried so quickly. It's still in 8,300 decks. That's pretty good. It's got a nice politics, if you're doing the politics angle. At the beginning of Enchanted Opponent's end step, you and that player each draw a card. So you get an extra card draw. You're giving a benefit to your opponent. And whenever you attack Enchanted Opponent or they attack you, of course, you're going to sacrifice it. So it's a pretty neat card. But as far as again, this is a card that if it came out in 2018, everyone would be playing it. And now it's just like, okay, white's got so many better options now that it's not that great. But anyway, that is it. That is all my Streets of New Capenna Retrospective. Going back, taking a look at that set, seeing where everything shakes out after about a year. It's been a little bit more than a year, of course, because I got caught up doing all the March of the Machine stuff. And I was waiting for that to be done before I put out this video. We got even more stuff coming out right away, so I thought this would be a good spot to sort of slot it in. Let me know what you guys think. What were the biggest surprises from New Capenna as far as the popular commanders, the popular 99 cards? There was a few shockers for me for sure from this set. Overall, I thought it was a great commander set. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.